today we're going to talk about graphing equations of circles. Um, Circles have a standard format, just like the standard form of a line is y equals mx plus b. The standard form of a parabola is ax squared plus bx plus c. The standard form when a circle is centers at 0, 0 is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And you don't have to write this down, but just to show you where that came from, if you look at this formula here, the radius is the distance from the center of the circle to a point on that circle. So the radius is equal to, if it's at centers at 0, 0, it's x minus 0, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay? Then you get rid of the square root sign by squaring both sides. So you get r squared is equal to x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared. And subtracting 0 doesn't do anything. So you basically get r squared equals x squared plus y squared. Okay, so let's see how we would write that as an equation. Okay, so remembering our format, x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And every equation is going to have an x and a y in it that stay variables. So the thing that's going to change, the number part, is going to be the r squared. All right, so I know the first part of my equation is going to be x squared plus y squared equals, okay? So we find the distance, if the center of the circle is 0, 0, and a point on the circle is -4, -5, then the radius is going to be the distance between these 2 points. So I plug in the distance formula. 0 minus -4 is 4. 0 minus -5 is 5. So I get 16 plus 25. So r is equal to the square root of 41. All right, so if that's r, then r squared is square root of 41 squared. And remember, squaring and square root cancel each other out. So my r squared would just be 41. Okay? This one is in the standard form. It gave us the equation. It's just not in standard form. It's not in the regular form because the x and the y have to be on the same side and the 18 on the other side. So that's x squared. I'm going to add y squared to both sides. And I'm going to add 18 to both sides. So I get x squared plus y squared equals 18. Because it's in that format, I know the center's at 0, 0, so I plug 0, 0 in here. And then I know that 18 is r squared. So if I take the square root of both sides, r is square root of 18, which if you plug in your calculator, it comes out to be 4.24, I believe. So if I'm going to graph it, I know the center is at 0, 0. I know the radius is about 4 1/4. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. And graph it like that. Okay? So that's what happens when we have a center at 0, 0. But obviously we got centers other than 0, 0. So when the center of the circle isn't at 0, 0, when it's at HK, okay? HK can be any other point other than 0, 0. The equation is x minus 8 squared, right? See how h goes with x, k goes with y, equals r squared. Technically, it's the exact same formula we learned a second ago. It's just that the h and the k, because it was at the center, were 0, 0. So really, the formula should have looked like that, right? We kind of covered that up above. But when you subtract 0, that's doing nothing, so we don't usually write it. We just write it x squared, subtracting 0, we leave that out. So really, this formula here is the same as this formula. It's just that h and the k were zeros. Okay? So let's do a couple of practice where if I give you the equation, can you tell me the center and then the radius and graph it? All right, so keeping in mind this formula, x minus h squared, y minus k squared, what is the center? Right, it's 3, 2. Okay, the radius, okay, remember it's r squared, so if this is r squared, what's r, right? So if I'm going to graph it, I go over 3 up 2, and then I count over 5, because it's all 5 away, right? So my circle is right there. Okay? Now, what if I give you some information and I ask you to write the equation of the circle? The equation of the circle, given this, write the standard equation. If the endpoints of the diameter are at 1, 6, and 1, negative 2. Well, if the diameter is at 1, 6, 1, negative 2, how would I find the center? Yeah, the center is the middle of the diameter, or the midpoint of the diameter. So I would do my midpoint formula, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So that's 2 over 2, which is 1, and 4 over 2, which is 2. So my center is at 1, negative 2. Okay? My radius, that's a little trickier because first, to find how long the diameter is, I use a distance formula. So that's 1 minus 1 squared plus 6 plus 2 squared, which is a square root of 8 squared, square root of 64, which is 8. Okay, that's a diameter. So the radius would be half of that. So the radius is 4. Okay, so let's graph it, and then we can write the equation. So the center is at 1, 2, so over 1, up 2, and the radius is at 4. So count over 4, 4, 4, 4. Drawing circle. Okay. Now, the equation of that line is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Well, the easy one's r squared. If r is 4, r squared is 16. H is 1. K is 2. So there's my equation in standard form. All right? This one goes the other way. This one gives you the equation, asks you to find the center and the radius again. So when I look at this, I say to myself, oh, not standard form. So I got to rearrange it into standard form. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get the x squared and the y squared on the same side. So I get 1 is equal to x squared plus y minus 4 squared. Okay? So x squared plus y squared equals r squared. I'm good. All right, now to get the center, I see the k is right there, but the h should be here. If it's not, if it's just x squared, what do we know h is? It's 0, right. So the center would be at 0, because h is 0, 4. Okay, and the radius, well, this is radius squared, so if r squared is 1, then r is also 1. Okay, so I go 0, 4, and then I'm 1 away. All right, a little circle. Okay, and oops, what did I do? Nice, that from last period. The last one, write the standard equation. So again, we're going to be writing the equation. If my center is at negative 3, 2, and it's tangent to the x-axis. Tangent means it touches the axis at one point. Okay, so let's graph what that looks like. negative 3, 2 would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 would be right there. Okay? And then tangent to the x-axis means it's a circle that just touches the x-axis at one point. Okay? And so just by looking, what's the radius? Right? The distance from here, from the center to the point. So the radius is 2. So if my radius is 2, my center is at negative 3, 2. Okay, my equation would be x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 2 squared, radius squared, that's 4. Okay, and my circle would look like that. Okay, and that's circles. All right, your homework is a worksheet